things will go into play because the holons, the systems, and so on, it's the dynamics, the building blocks of how the whole system begins to operate. My favorite right now is spiral dynamics. Right now, Don Beck's one that puts it on is made by Claire Graves. Him and Wilber actually hooked up in the 90s. They made two models that corresponded almost exactly like each other, finally teamed up in the 90s and worked on the model together. And they took all the evolutionary models that come into play with their own research and put an awesome thing together. Spiral, I've already told you why the spiral is significant. You keep going around, but at every time, it expands further out. Fluo, my favorite band, they have this line that says, spiral out, keep going. It's kind of you're always evolving. Spiral for Jung was a sign of evolution and self-realization. The first stage, it's color-coded, was beige. 100,000 years ago. I'll tell you what the colors mean. We actually tend to move from these spectrums back and forth of singular, collective, singular, collective, back and forth as we grow. So these are going to be the singulars, where we care more about ourselves, and this is going to be the collective side, right? Beige is the human race once we grew out of this whole matter, cells, the animal kingdom, you guys know the story, right? From fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, human beings come up. Here we're still instinctual. This is us. Like, this is your same consciousness was molded by these experiences. We're coming out of the grasslands, that's why it's called beige, and we're much more impulsive. There's no sense of self at all constructed. Look at your consciousness now, this is still there. I'm ruled by instinct. I have a need, I get it satisfied. Think about a wild boar, a monkey, something else that just takes place where something comes in, needs to be fed. Children still go through this. This is our experience as a human race, but when a kid is born, it has to relive the whole thing. The micro has to relive all the macro all over again. We start out as cells when we're conceived. We go through the whole process, and we go through all the world views at every human being. Nobody's born at different stages. They have to begin from the beginning and work their way up. After beige, beginning 100,000 years ago, we have what's called purple. Purple, we use it because it's more majestic. This is 50,000 years. This is the tribal me, the mythic me. So we're organisms, individuals going around trying to survive. We actually begin to form in groups. There's just greater survival skills. Think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Instincts, then belonging and security. We begin to form in groups just because we're bred a survival rate. We start to do rituals, bury our dead, have ceremonies. The shaman comes in. I mean, this is us. This is all our history. This is still Africa. Beginning is us putting the whole thing together. We don't know anything about the world. At this sense, there's no sense of self. Like this is indigenous people are still here. The human race has passed this worldwide. There's no human beings except Asian. Purple is still the indigenous people. We recently learned from the teachers that at this place, people still have different views from each other in the group. The cosmology of the group is the one you share. People don't have different opinions or different ways of seeing things. You kind of just share your group mentality. So it's a very peaceful way, but it's still infantile. It's kind of the whole a pre-rational, transrational thing. They're not enlightened. It's like saying you're in the womb and you're in bliss, but there's no sense of that. There's no sense of self knowing I'm in bliss. And then we have red. This is 10,000 years ago. This is the egocentric stage. Red because it's passion, it's hot-blooded. So what happens here, we're in a group, and all of a sudden you get a sense of me, mine, So you break away, you want to break away from the group, I want more than others. See, I'm willing to compete, I'm willing to fight. This is the conquistadors. Now, we still have all this in us. This would become like the sports, the competitive, third world countries, people that are still on the lore of the survival skills. Like this is where they're at. What it brings though is a lot of chaos. This is the cohesion breaking away. Everybody does their own thing, there's no order, there's no morals, there's no guilt. People just do whatever they wanted to win. Think about gangsters or street wars. This is where people are at. What happens next is blue. Blue is 5,000 years ago. What's that blue in Egypt? It's coming together, bringing law. Now, tribes only got so big, broke away. What happens now with blue? We build societies and cities. We have a law that can bring everybody together. We have dogma, we have religion, everybody's under one doctrine. We're all part of the same group because we share the same belief, the same rules, the same structure. What happens here is, this is a strong sense of self, and the next part right here, you kind of give up yourself for a higher power. You know the idea of born-again Christians? Because this is chaotic, their life is in disorder, and this is strict order and discipline. This is the conventional. You guys are moving from pre-conventional, conventional, trans-conventional, where it's like, I don't know anything about a group, I'm doing my own thing, impulses. Now I'm blending in doing whatever society's doing. Think about your days maybe in junior high, where you care about what everybody looks like, you just want to fit in. And then you move past that, like, yeah, I'm an individual, I have my own thoughts. And the group's only getting me so far. Like, I've seen to outgrow the group. So this trans-conventional. A has a thing where it's like, also to, like, say, you have to, like, give up yourself. Your life's a mess. You give yourself up in the 12 steps for a higher power. It helps to fix it. So this is a religion. A fundamentalist religious person would be between these two stages, holding a wand of blue and red. What happens next is we move into orange. Orange, 1,000 years ago, but only got big about 500 years ago. If you notice, these are the warm colors, and these are the cool colors. This comes in, got big around the Enlightenment. It's scientists, objectives, capitalists. Again, it's really individualistic. See, now we're in the group, right? There's only so much you're going to get out of that, too. And after a while, you're like, I want to do something in my own life. This would be Maslow's hierarchies of self-esteem. There would be a belonging over there, and they have self-esteem. Where I want to succeed on my own. Hey, I want to go start a business. I'm tired of being in this group. Like, it's cool and all, but there's something in me that just wants more. So I'm going to break away and do my own thing. Here, the religions ruled and told you what kind of reality is. It's based on society. Now I'm breaking away and be like, yo, there's patterns in nature. Like, I'm going to be a little more objective. Science comes in, right? Hey, maybe they're not all right about the same thing. Maybe there's actually a different law, and I'm going to go find out about myself. Scientific experimentation, the scientific method, so on. This is where the majority of the US is, right now about 40%, and about 40% in blue. Most of the world is in red and blue, trying to get into orange. So you see evolutionary just where most people are at. Materials, this is, since it's self-based, you can see they're kind of do everything for their own capitalistic gain, and beautiful at the same time, it's kind of destroying a lot of things. So the next stage always grows in response to the problems the one before. The next one is green. Green's a lot of what the Bay Area is right now. Came in 150 years ago. We got big around the 60s. Now you become humanitarian again, ecological. You care about the whole again. Like hippie movement, human rights. Hey, we're messing things up. There's a care that comes in. Orange and blue are really insensitive. They're highly rational, really insensitive. It's all about the bottom line. They don't care about empathy. It's just, capabilities weren't awakened yet. So new capabilities arise at every level. These are what's called the first tier. They're the personal. There are things that you need as an individual to first get self-automated. This is what the Bay Area is kind of known for right now. And it's kind of leading edge. Now you have second tier, which is a whole evolutionary jump. They call them the being beings. The first one's integral, it's yellow. Let's call it the integral. And the idea is you integrate everything that came before. See, all these worldviews are actually different worldviews, different ways of experiences, are all fighting with each other. Each one thinks they're right. The materialistic view and the green, they have a pluralistic view. Reality is relative to each individual. What happens here, though, is that everything's collapsed into what is a flat. Orange revolves around hierarchy, right? There's order, there's rules. Like in a business, there's the boss and so on all the way down. So does blue. Green saw that brought a lot of oppression. So they're like, forget that, everything's the same. It collapses everything, there's no depth, everything's the same. Hitler's worldview and ideology is the same as Gandhi's. So they're like, hey, it's relative to each individual. Yellow comes in, it's like, no, there's actually depth. There's an evolutionary process. One's more evolved than the other. One's better adapted to work into the world than the other. And they're the first one to see that each of these are important, that they grow upon of each other. So they're no longer fighting each individual. They come here to take care of the whole. Like, yo, you got to go through purple to get to red. You have to fill out red to get to blue, and so on. Well, each one here thinks they're right. So here comes systems thinking, integral thought, and so on. This is 50 years ago, spanning out about 1% of the population. And then you have what's called turquoise. Turquoise comes in because it's more of a holistic view of the planet. So this is like the holistic paradigm. You see systems, you see flow, but you're kind of working through it naturally. There's more synchronicities. Here's where psychic capacities actually come into play. They're more intuitive. Here's the rational, here's instinctual. From here to here, this is all instinct impulses. Blue, orange, green, like you're more rational. Then you move into transrational, or an intuitive way of being. You just move with like, you've learned enough. Yellow values learning and experience. They don't care about authority the way blue, they give up authority as a status. Yellow cares about who has more experience and knowledge. Turquoise now again cares about the whole, but not in a global way. It's a life-centered being, where life is important. While green cares about human rights and all humans, you know, like they deserve their own way, and everyone has the potential to become all self-actualized. Turquoise says, hey, all life is space. It's more ecological. It's like, hey, we're all part of the whole. They see systems thinking, so they know each piece influences the whole thing. So like the dynamics, say, of an atom will influence the dynamics of molecule, dynamics of a cell. One piece is rearranged, the whole thing is affected. Think billiard balls and moving, all connecting with each other. And this is where field thinking comes into play. We read, you know, Bosch, Christopher Bache. Like fields come into play that, hey, we're psychically linked and so on. This comes in 30 years ago. There's actually one more called choral, but there's just like not enough of it for people to even say really what it is. It's kind of just like a whole, I mean, I believe it to be more like self-actualized, or like, hey, I realize I'm God, or represented the whole thing. The self falls away and I'm moving from that space. It might also be when we link, like kind of cyborg, is that thing that's inevitable. We'll link with technology, we'll probably get implanted with a chip, connect to satellites, have internet at the top of our tip, of our mind, and just rapidly grow like that. All information downloaded anything you want and upload.